Hello, everyone. My guest today is Adrian Dayton. He's the founder of Clearview Social and author of 2 books on social media for lawyers. His software is being used by over 20,000 professionals, including 25 of the 100 largest law firms in the United States. Adrian, are you ready to take us to the top?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's cut right to this, man. Every year we put out a report on getlatka.com. It ranks companies by fastest growing, but I don't like dilly-dally. We go right for ARR numbers because that's the most true metric, right? And you say, Nathan, we should be on this thing. We're growing like crazy. And I said, Adrian, come on the show. We'll talk about it. So tell me, give us the clickbait first, and then let's learn more about the story. So what's total ARR now? What are you at?
Yeah, so total ARR, we're just under 1.5 million ARR.
Okay, and what were you at 12 months ago?
So 12 months ago, we were at about 900,000 ARR.
Okay, very good. Now let's back into the story. What's the company do?
Yeah. So we make it really simple for companies to get their employees sharing to social media. So a designated marketer within your company, they send out an email queue through our software that prompts everyone to click one button, and it will schedule out all the sharing across all the employees in your organization.
Okay, and it just you're focused in one industry, it sounds like, which is the legal one, correct?
Yeah, so it's really become professional services, law firms, accounting firms, recruiting firms, any company that kind of sells their brain power, in terms of consulting, professional services. That's where really we found our sweet spot.
Yep. And based off what my research team gave me, I mean, if someone's running a professional services firm with 30 employees, in the past, when the CEO puts out some press release or something goes out about a big milestone, they then maybe email or post in Slack and say, hey guys, go post this. You've built a better way to get the team to share the social content. Yeah,
that's right. So best case scenario, existing companies, they send out an email, hey, everybody, go to our LinkedIn page, go to our Twitter page, like and retweet what we've shared.
Yep.
Instead, this sends an email. They just click a single button. Not only does it make sure it gets done, but we have all these great analytics attached. So we can tell them the names of companies that are clicking on what they've shared. We can have a leaderboard, gamify it. So there's a saying in business, what gets measured gets managed. Right now, you're telling people to post to social, but if they do it, no one's going to know. No one's patting them on the back, right? No one's saying, hey, why aren't you sharing? Because there's no visibility behind it. With Clearview, everything's measured. And so it helps create organizational change and get people sharing.
Yeah. So what are people paying you for this on average per month?
So the average customer spending, the annual spend is about $9,000 a year.
Okay. And do you only sell annual plans?
So it is basically a monthly payment, but they basically pay a penalty for paying monthly. So we make it really simple, really easy for them to just prepay annually. And since we've made that switch, about 90% of them choose to pay annually, which has been really great for cash flow.
And how many customers do you have to date?
So today we have 147 customers.
Yep, 147 customers paying you, again, $9,000 per month or $9,000 per year or $750 per month.
Yeah.
That puts you right around 120-ish grand per month, which is that run rate of about 1.5 million per year, up from, you said, again, about 900 or 75 grand at the end of December 2016. So good growth. Where's most of the growth coming from?
Most of the growth is coming from, it's still the legal, accounting, and recruiting spaces. What's been cool though is as our product has developed more, we're now starting to get larger enterprise size professional services firms. So even though $9,000 our average, we have a handful of firms that are spending $60,000 a year and are using this across enterprises, multiple offices, multiple admins. And that's been really cool because obviously we get 10 more customers like that, and that really increases our growth rate.
When did you launch the company?
So we launched just over 4 years ago, so December of 2013.
And where was your head at this point? Were you just frustrated, working in a law firm and quit? I mean, where were you at?
Yeah. So 2009, I was sitting at my desk as a lawyer, economic downturn hit. And one day the head of my department came to my office and shared with me a few words I'll never forget. He said, "You're fired." And I called my wife and she's crying because we have a baby.
How old was the baby?
The baby's like a year old.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm like, honey, yeah. Good.
Well, and tell me how drastic it was. So what I want to know, how much were you making then when you got fired?
Yeah. I mean, I was making with bonus, like maybe 80 grand a year. So in Buffalo, that's plenty of money, and so we had student loans, we had a baby, my wife wasn't working. We had a house payment, and I said, honey, it's okay. I've got an idea. I am going to start a business teaching lawyers how to use Twitter. And she just cried harder, but she was really supportive. And over the next few months, I wrote the first book on social media for lawyers, and my consulting business just exploded. So I was just consulting, and I went from, in the first year, I made about $100,000 a year, and I grew it, doubled almost every year until I was doing about $400,000 a year consulting to large law firms all over the world. And I was making great money.
But like what's great money? What do you mean? Like 10 grand per engagement or what? I mean, what's great money?
Yeah. I was making $7,500 a day to go and work with these firms.
Yep.
And obviously I couldn't sell 20 days a month, but sometimes I would sell, 5 to 10 days a month. And I would just, I had months where I would just absolutely crush it. And I had no expenses. All the money just came right into my account. And a lot of people would say, like, why did you ever start a company? Like, that sounds like a pretty great lifestyle. And obviously lifestyle was good, but I felt like I wasn't having the impact that I could with like a product.
Yep.
And so
your time was the factor.
That's right. And so I was limited. And, the months where I made 50, 60 grand in a month, I was traveling nonstop. I didn't get to see my family. And so I really thought, instead of these firms just paying me once to spend a couple of days with them, what if they could keep paying me every single month, right? That's the dream, right?
Yep.
And so I raised some money from angels, just a little bit of money first. My first round was, it was $100,000 of my own money, but I raised $300 of additional money. And that's how I hired my first engineer and an appointment setter. It was just the three of us. Then after a year.
What do you mean an appointment setter?
So they literally I gave them a physical book of every law firm in the country that was over a certain size, right? And she just called them and said, do you know Adrian Dayton? Because I've written a lot. A lot of people know me already. And they'd say, yeah, we know him. And he'd say, he wants to talk to you. Can I set up a time? So she just set up meetings for me.
I love that.
And that's how I got my first, probably 20, 30 clients. Just this appointment setter, just setting up meetings. And then I use my network as well.
Yeah. So what have you raised to date total?
So to date, including, we took a loan this last year for our growth, just under 1.4 million.
That includes the loan, or that's all equity?
That includes the loan.
How much is the loan?
The loan was for $300,000.
And why did you do that?
Well, it was just at 4% interest, and we didn't have to give up any equity.
Who'd you work with through that? Silicon Valley Bank or what?
So no, it's actually a local development association here in Erie County in Buffalo. So it's just a federal loan, 4% interest. As long as it creates jobs, you can qualify for it. So
that's great. Non-dilutive.
Exactly. Yeah. I did have to personally guarantee it, which is a bummer. But
your wife cried harder.
That's right. That's right. I've already put in a couple $100,000 of my own money and 4 years of my life into this company. So it's like we got to go all in, So yeah. I'm just pushing to grow, and the biggest challenge is just scaling out our sales team and getting people that can be as passionate about the product and knowledgeable about it as I am.
What's your team today?
So our team today is 11 people. We have 3 engineers, 1 UX UI designer, 2 customer success people, 3 salespeople, including me, an SDR, appointment setter who's just crushing it, and then 1 marketing coordinator. Yep. So that's the whole team.
All in Erie?
No, we've got 1 employee in Phoenix, Arizona. We got 1 employee in Raleigh, but the rest of us are here in Buffalo, New York.
I love that. Okay, good. And tell me a little bit about churn.
Yeah, so churn is an issue. It's interesting. A lot of people, the problem with churn is they quit using your product and buy something else. That's not our problem at all. The only reason we lose customers is because they never started using it, right? They buy it and they never start sending out the emails to get people sharing. And so they get to the end of the year and it's like, oh, we didn't use this. So they cancel. Our churn is about 14%. But with our key industries, legal and accounting, it's closer to 10%. So
just to be clear, that's 14% logo churn per year.
So when you say logo churn, just that's logo churn. That's right. We're just talking about logo churn. Yeah, because in terms of revenue, we're not, we're growing. So we have a negative, and we get enough upgrades that the upgrades more than offset. So we have negative churn in that sense.
Yep.
Right?
Do you you have negative net revenue churn. Before you look at expansion, what are you churning in revenue annually?
Before we look at expansion, we're churning about $100,000 a year.
Okay, in ARR?
Yeah, in ARR.
On the 1.5. So that's less than 10%. Less than
Yeah, that's
about
right. The
7%.
revenue churn is quite small.
Yeah, 7% gross revenue churn annually, which means if you're net negative churn, throughout the year, you're growing or you're adding or expanding by more than 7% each year to make up for that loss.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
that's great. Okay, and when you are bringing on these new customers, what are you paying to acquire them?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and I don't say it's a good question because I'm stalling, but I say it's a good question because our market is finite. So law firms and accounting firms and recruiting firms that are a fit for us, there are only about 3,000 total customers. Like that's our addressable market.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you talk about cost of client acquisition, well, it's about $3,000. But if we spent twice as much, we couldn't necessarily acquire twice as many customers because the market is just limited in terms of the size.
So wait, just to be clear, what was that 3,000 number? That's what you pay to acquire a customer?
Yeah, that's what we pay to acquire a customer.
Okay, got it. And if they're spending $750 a month or about $9,000 a year, you're getting that back in about 3-4 months, which is healthy payback.
Absolutely. Yeah, less than 6 months.
And what you're saying is you couldn't infinitely get customers at $3,000 a pop because they don't exist.
Yeah, and this is kind of the next step for us. And we don't have enough cash to build out. If you say like, how could we triple in size in the next year?
Yeah.
Well, it would really require that we have a major cash infusion so that we could bring on salespeople to go after these other verticals.
How much cash?
How much cash would we need?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we'd probably need at least $1 million to really expand to these other industries. And so we're at this inflection point where we're trying to decide. We have a second product we're coming out with in the next month. Do we go deeper into this industry, right? Increase the annual price for each customer, or do we increase the number of industries that we're going after?
Yep.
I mean, and we're trying to do both, but we never had the luxury of being written a check for $2 million with a 3-year runway. Like, okay, hopefully in 3 years you can make something happen.
Adrian, are you burning cash right now?
We are burning a little bit of cash.
Like less than 10K per month?
Yeah, like 10 to 20,000.
10 to 20. That's not horrible.
Yeah.
And each month to service your debt, about how much are you paying? Just debt service?
Oh, like just a few $1,000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at your numbers. I mean, this happens all the time, by the way. CEOs call on my show and they go, Nathan, you released the show this morning because we got all this inbound from investors wanting to invest. I'm telling you, this is going to happen to you because I think your economics are healthy. You've raised 1.4, but 400's debt, which you're paying a couple grand a month to service. The other 300 was a lot that you put in. So you only have $1 million raised. In other words, you have less raised than what your ARR is, which a lot of companies can't say. They raise way more than their ARR. So you've got room. I would not be shocked if you get some kind of deal off of this. And I'm going to ask for something very simple. I only want 5%. 5%. That's it. No, I'm just kidding. Last few economics questions here before we wrap up. Lifetime value. What do you assume these guys are worth to you?
So the tough thing about the legal industry and accounting industry is it's really tough to get. You think about law firms, they have tons of money. It's tough to get them to buy anything. But once they buy something, they use it forever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say the lifetime value is infinity, but I think the lifetime value is they're going to use this for at least 5 to 7 years.
So you think definitely north of 45 grand?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the lifetime value is over 50 grand, and it's borne that out, right? The firms that use our product successfully, they would never consider leaving it behind because it's the one simple product that just works for them, right?
Yep, makes good sense. What do you have to get new users to do in the first week to make sure they get sticky? Yeah,
so they just have to do 2 things. They've got to click on the link, the invite to the software that they get, and they've got to click the share button, schedule their first share. And, when we do a big kickoff, we give all the materials, all the emails for the marketers to send out in advance. We do video training and webinars to kick it off. And, we get about half the people added within organizations to add, and about half of that half start sharing and become active. So, some firms may say, oh, well, only 25% of our users are active. Well, before that, less than 2% of your users were sharing to social media. So, that's how so success for us is that we have 25% of their users, active successfully using the product.
Yep. That's pretty good, Adrian. Let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, what's the last business book that you read?
Last Business Principles by Ray Dalio.
Yeah, that's a good one. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
Yeah, CEO. I mean, I probably think more about, I know it's like such a cliche answer, but I probably follow, I read Steve Jobs' book just about the way he made decisions about product. I don't know. I know that's cliche, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building your business?
Favorite online tool for building my business. I really like, I've just become involved with Dan Martell's SaaS growth network. What's it called? I don't remember the exact name, but it's pretty amazing.
Good. Yeah, his growth network. Good. Number 3, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
According to my iPhone, I get about 6.5. So
that's pretty good. And what's your situation? Married, single, you have kid? I hope you're still married and you have a little kid, right?
I'm married. I have 3 children now.
3. Wow. Okay.
10-year-old, 5-year-old boy, and a 2-year-old daughter.
And how old are you?
I am 39.
All right, Adrian, take us home. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
I wish the 20-year-old version of me knew to double down on the business books. I should have just got started early on that stuff.
There you guys have it. Double down on the business books from Adrian, Clearview Social. It's social media for lawyers. He got fired back in 2013 from his law firm. He had to go all in. His wife wasn't working. They had a little child and he's going, what do I do? Well, he starts selling consulting to legal firms on Twitter. He raised $300,000, hired an appointment scheduler, would go charge $7,500 per day, realized quickly professional services doesn't scale, said, let me build a SaaS platform. He's now up to about 11 people, mostly in Buffalo, New York, building out their software. They were doing about $75,000 per month 12, 13 months ago in December 2016. Today, they're over $1.5 million in ARR. That's over $125,000 per month. So healthy growth. Churn is about 1 to 2% per month in terms of logo churn, 7% gross revenue churn annually. CAC is $3,000. So they're getting paid back in about 4 months from these customers, 147 of them that pay on average $9,000 per year or $750 per month. So healthy growth. We're rooting for you, Adrian. Thanks for taking us to the top.
Thank you, Nathan.